Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Everyone comes in this world with nothing, leaves with nothing, and we need shelter, we need guidance. And the primary way of advancing in devotional service is to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. And we have a legacy. We have acharyas whose writings are well documented and presented, whose lives have been brought to light through various biographies. And we know their mood, we know their methods, and to the best of our ability, following the footsteps means to do what you can. It doesn't mean you have to imitate, but if you follow in their footsteps, you'll be successful. Bejare muneyo tagre bhagavan tamadhoksajam sattvam vishuddham shemaya kalpante yenutaniha. Sutta Goswami says at the outset of the Srimad Bhagavatam that previously the great acharyas set the example by worshipping Lord Vishnu, who's beyond the modes of material nature, because they knew it's the highest goal of life. One would attain the ultimate benefit of life. And anyone who follows their footsteps, no matter where they come from, no matter what situation they're in now, if they just try to follow in the footsteps, it's called Mahat Kritena. The great acharyas leave behind them a methodology. And if you do your best to follow it, even if you're not perfect at it, then the ocean of the material world shrinks to the size of the water within the hoofprint of a calf. You can easily step over it. And the method given by the previous acharyas is compared to a boat. So the process is the boat, and one of the processes which was enunciated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or is enunciated by Kaviraj Goswami about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, was the method of distributing Krishna consciousness as a sadhana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the members of the Panchatattva, are said poetically to have broken open the storehouse of love of Godhead. In fact, the word in Bengali is lute. Everyone say. Lute. It's cognate with the modern English word loot. If you've ever seen a good riot, you know that we have lots of them in America. People go a little crazy and they start bashing in windows and carrying away, used to be television sets, I don't know what they get now, Pampers or something. And they walk away with boxes of stuff, and they don't care for anyone or anything. They just lawlessly, they take it away. This was the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. They didn't care where was a fit place, unfit place. They didn't care it was a fit candidate, unfit candidate. They plundered the storehouse of love of God and ate and distributed its contents like wild people. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the poetical language of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is said to be like an emperor who becomes intoxicated one day. He goes up to the treasury, takes out the most expensive heirlooms, goes down on the common road with a big bag, and singing, dancing, he just hands it out to people who are driving on the common road. He's so intoxicated in love of God as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he's giving away for free what is said to be unattainable, even after millions of births of endeavor, to come to the position of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serving Him. So by following the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is a manifestation of His internal potency, one can come to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. That is why the activity of going out to distribute the holy names purposefully and in a tasteful way so that people can identify with it. And also the distribution of literary kirtan, that is, the kirtan is written down on pages, which makes it transportable. Each book is actually a container. This is a container, it's a delivery system. These are not so easy to make, at least they weren't a couple hundred years ago. You had to do it by hand, or at least on very primitive printing presses when Gutenberg came out with his printing press in the 1400s. Now they just fly off the presses seemingly, and we don't even know where the paper comes from because it's so abundant right now. And this is a delivery system. Inside there are seeds. And when those seeds go out into human society, they implant themselves and ideologies spring up. Practically every one of the major political, social, philosophical, spiritual ideologies of the world is preceded by the distribution of books, literatures. Political movements like in the United States, we wouldn't have a United States if it wasn't for the book called Common Sense written by Thomas Paine, that still to date was the most abundantly distributed book per capita of any other book, the largest selling book. He sold it in the colonies to everybody who lived there, and they rose up and had revolution. And everyone here has heard of evolution, I'm sure, right? Yes. And you have the book in your home called The Origin of the Species, right?
No.
It's in your car.
No.
Where'd you put it?
School library.
You don't know where it is. It may be in the library. Every one of us knows about evolution. So does every person on the street right now. If you ask them what evolution is, they'll give you some basic idea. And most of them are convinced that it's an actual thing. But they really don't know where it came from. It came from a book. When the book Origin of the Species went out, it was an organized system of thought. People read it. They imbibed it, which means to drink. And then they accepted it. Human beings are called, actually the soul is called tatasta, which means malleable, changeable. I say open to suggestion. Every living entity, if you whisper in their ear like, hey, turn left, not right, they'll go, really? Should I? Yeah, you should do it. And they go, okay. They don't know which way to turn. Nobody really knows what to do about anything in this world. Therefore, if we give suggestion based on the teachings of Krishna, who we accept as the greatest teacher, then we're doing the greatest good for human society because people know which way to turn at which time and they can become greatly benefited. This is our legacy. The distribution of knowledge in our sampradaya. Did you download that? Okay. I'll just fast forward to... Oh, I have it. Okay. The books are not going away. All research now says that even though electronic media is increasing, the books are not diminishing at all. People love books. Human society all over the world. And I'm clicking, but nothing's happening. Okay, technology. I'll just speak. I'm moving ahead. We have very little time, but I want to show you something that you'll be able to relate to. Okay, this is Lord Brahma, correct? And, approximately when was he born? We'll divide 311 trillion years into half. He's about 50 years old right now. It's the afternoon of Brahma sometime. And now he was born, 150 trillion years ago. What's strange about this picture, considering that?
He's holding a book.
Yes, we have a ringer in the front row. He's holding a book. Why is that strange? Why is it anachronistic that he's holding a book? Yes, Prabhu. Rishi will tell us. No printing presses. Rishi, 10 points. Okay, so no printing presses. However, when I wrote my book called Our Family Business, Rabindra Sarup Prabhu wrote the preface for it. And he showed me a section where, actually, this is commonplace in the Gaudiya Sampradaya that whenever Brahma is depicted, he'll be holding a book because we are called the Sampradaya of the book. So now let's go through a little history. It's short, but I'm going to quiz you a little bit. I'll give you the answer, but you have to say it enthusiastically. You either say book, say book. Book. See, book is something you can really say explosively because of the consonants. Book. Book. Yeah, that's not enough. Book. Book. And or you can say books. Books. Now that's the only part of the quiz, whether it's pluralized or not. Okay, are you ready? Yes. Say yes. Yes. Okay, here we go. Who's this? What's he? Minus 5 points for Rishi. He's okay. What's he holding in his hand? Book. Okay, you made it back up. Books. He's holding a book in his hand. That is correct. And those books were written by hand back then. Actually, it was impressed on leaves with a stylus. It was a painstaking process. Okay, who is this? A little hard to see, but you can guess. What's he holding in his hand?
Books.
Yeah, that is correct. Who is this? Also hard to see, but what's he kneeling in front of?
Books.
That is correct. You're doing well. Who is this? What's he writing? Correct. Very good. Who is this? And what are they famous for? Books, yes. Okay, who is this? I just noticed this about the picture, but maybe you will too. What's he posing with?
Books.
Correct, yes, that's good. Who is this? Oh my goodness, I'm noticing a pattern. I just noticed this also. What's he posing with also?
Books.
Correct, yes. And who is this? Oh my goodness. What's he posing with?
Books.
Does anybody see a pattern?
Yes.
Yes. Gopal sees it. Okay, yes. There's a pattern here. The pattern is that acharyas leave behind them books. This is their contribution. The Goshtianandi acharyas, they produce books, and books are a delivery system. And they hold within them idea seeds. These happen to be spiritual idea seeds. So unlike books like The Origin of Species, which contain a lot of speculation, these contain, according to us, and proven by Jiva Goswami and the Tattvas Samdarbha, actual spiritual guidance coming from Krishna himself. And it's perfect information. If that were true, and it is, what would be the benefit of these books going out into human society and the ideas within them spilling out? What do you think would be the benefit?
Transformation.
What kind of transformation?
The character, the desire to do something.
Yes, and it would also embed within human society just as many other ideologies, political systems, sociological thought has been embedded in human society since the time immemorial, since the beginning of the book, which was quite some time ago. Spiritual ideals. And that's why the acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada emphasized the distribution of books. It's not a quaint idea. It's not an outdated idea. It wasn't something cute we did for a couple of years, but it's actually a strategy through which we inject the idea seeds from the spiritual world into human society. Because there's a lot of noise in human society right now, we may not see the immediate results in many places. Nonetheless, the seeds are being planted, and each one of them has its effect. We are also charged with cultivating those seeds and taking care of them after they begin to grow, that's for sure. But the mass distribution of books will be effectual all over the world. And this is the legacy that we've come upon by being born at this particular time and having become associated with the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the distribution of transcendental literature. So, now there are two parts to the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And actually, the appearance of Mahaprabhu is as the Acharya. He's giving his Acharya Leela, he's teaching everyone how to be a devotee. And why did he appear? Because Srila Advaita Acharya, who is Mahavishnu himself, who appeared as one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he prayed deeply for the appearance of the Lord to help spread Krishna consciousness because he saw there was no other hope. And did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear? Say yes. Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, minus millions of details, he began his spreading the Sankirtan movement. And there are two parts to the Sankirtan movement. One part is chant Hare Krishna. What's the first part?
Chant Hare Krishna.
The second part is teach it to others. What's the second part?
Teach others.
Part one?
Chant Hare Krishna.
Part two?
Teach others.
Part one?
Hare Krishna.
Part two?
Teach others.
Part two?
Teach others.
Part 2? 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. See, it's easy because there's only 2 parts. And the Krishna conscious movement is a missionary movement. It's meant, the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to spread to every town and village the process of Krishna consciousness, the chanting of the holy names, the lifestyle of Krishna consciousness. This was epitomized by his going from town to town in South India, and especially it's mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami when he met Kurma Brahma in a small village. Kurma was a Brahmana who presided over the village, and he wanted to go with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after he saw his beauty and felt the power of his teachings, and Mahaprabhu said, no, stay here and teach Krishna consciousness in your own village, and you'll never be separated from me if you take up this preaching. So he wanted, did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that everyone take a little responsibility according to their capacity in whatever place they live to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. That's our legacy. And everyone's welcome to join in, and everyone has something to contribute. It requires only a little sincerity, and we can follow the example of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya prayed fervently for the appearance of the Lord. And he did so while he offered Ganges water and tulsi leaves. And did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear? Yes, he did. Then he took up the process of marketing, as is mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the greatest capitalist. You might as well, when you get a chance, Divyanam, put the other slide show on, because I'm going to transition to it rather quickly, trying to take advantage of the tiny amount of time that we have here today. And he took up marketing. Marketing, according to modern methods, requires quantitative and qualitative reasoning skills. You have to think about your market, how to brand your product. You have to think about what the audience needs, what kind of context they need, what kind of expectations they have when you present your product. And you also have to conquer market share. You have to find out the means to deliver it. That's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda thought about, how to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Again, poetically, Kaviraj Goswami describes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the greatest capitalist, spiritual capitalist. And he's willing to back anybody who wants to take this up as a lifetime occupation, that is spreading Krishna consciousness movement. He backed Srila Prabhupada. He'll back anybody who simply has a sincere desire to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. He's there to help. And therefore, we see right now in the world that we're poised for an explosion in the Krishna consciousness movement like we've never seen before. Because now we have strategic communities all over the world like this one. The unsuspecting public is walking around doing what they normally do, getting ready for another day. And here we're fomenting revolution. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abhadyavatyapi. The Srimad Bhagavatam states its purpose. Narada Muni says, the Srimad Bhagavatam and its culture are meant to create a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. We could look at the modern 24-hour news cycle to find that people are suffering and they're not getting good guidance in various ways. We could also observe the kind of teachings we get from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and see that we're offering teachings that can help people to come to a more balanced lifestyle, but to speak of achieve the goal of life, going back home, back to Godhead. This is our legacy. This is what Srila Prabhupada brought to us. He had a sense of urgency when he brought it, and therefore it's okay if we also have a sense of urgency, because human life is not guaranteed like any other life. It's hanging in the balance, and at any minute we can drop off. But while we're here, we have an opportunity to go deeply within the practice of Krishna consciousness, especially by chanting Hare Krishna and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees. These are the two core practices that are most highly recommended for everybody. And then distributing it. And why do we go out anyway? We go out because it's self-purificatory. When we go out into the great unknown here in Birmingham, we have no idea what's going to happen. We do know it's the right thing to do. But when we go out, we'll feel a sense of exhilaration because we're taking a risk in going out into the great unknown. And we'll see things that we never expected. For instance, we'll see today, I guarantee you, if you don't see it directly, you'll hear about it from one of the devotees when we reconvene, and that is someone will say, I approached this person and somehow or other they were interested, they took a book, they seemed very enlivened to meet the devotees and so forth. And this is what we call spiritual oxygen. In previous days, as you've read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there was a method thousands of years, eons ago, when the priests used to test their mantras. They would sacrifice an animal, and then through mantra they would bring it back to life. Have you heard about this? We don't do it anymore because nobody knows how to do it. However, people in this age, according to our Shastra, Shravid Vadahoshta Karai Shamsata Parashapasu, due to the oppression of the lower modes of material nature, they're practically like animals. This is not to criticize any individual person, but just to say that it's a very degraded age. And now we have mantras that, and practically they're dead, because they're dead to spiritual life. Had to sneak that in to make the metaphor work. So now, when we go out and we present our mantras, Hare Krishna mantra, the mantras written in this book that they can carry away and take home, we'll notice that people come back to life. So just like in previous ages, the priest would bring an animal, dead animal, back to life to test the mantra, to see how powerful they were. We also, when we go out regularly and we distribute the mantra, and we distribute Transcendental Literature, which is a book full of mantras, we'll also see how people come back to life. Thus, edifying our own sense of the power of the chanting of the holy name. That's what brings oxygen, spiritual oxygen, into any community, is this experience of going out, distributing it, seeing for oneself how people become enlivened in all parts of the world. It doesn't matter where you go. We were in Japan in April, and we went to Ueno Park in April, and we had a big Harinam in the middle of the park during cherry blossom season, and we noticed that as we just kept going with the same tune, all kinds of people stopped, and it was as if they were mesmerized. They were caught by the mantra, and it was the most fantastical thing they had ever seen or heard, and that's true. Oftentimes I take it for granted because I think, oh yeah, I've been here, I chant Hare Krishna, I go home, I have some prasadam, I come back. But when people see it or hear it for the first time and you watch the expression on their face, it's priceless. It reminds us that this is a vital mantra. It's actually penetrating, it's powerful. Don't forget to continue chanting. You see it in the eyes of others when they begin to chant. And when they take away a literature and it changes their life, you remember the power's in the book. This is oxygen. Every Krishna conscious community has to have this oxygen in order to survive. Otherwise, it starts to become insular. No oxygen to the brain, and then the brain goes dead. And you just follow mindlessly without thinking, why are we even doing this in the first place? Hope that doesn't sound too extreme. Does it, Ravi? Ravi's smiling, so he must like it, I hope. Okay, so this is some preliminary idea of our legacy. Are you convinced?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now let me tell you that there are 4 laws to book distribution. If you follow these 4 laws, I guarantee it, I promise it, that you will be successful in not only your individual book distribution, but also collectively, as a community, whatever group you're in. If you have a gang somewhere and your gang hangs out and you adopt these 4, you'll become the most powerful book distributing gang in all of the UK.
Haribol!
Yeah, let's hear it for the gang members. Okay, so here are the 4 laws. The first law of book distribution is your sadhana must be strong. And everyone please repeat.
Your sadhana must be strong.
That is correct. Your sadhana must be strong. Otherwise, what's the point of life? You might as well, I don't know, just not wake up in the morning, which wouldn't be very strong sadhana. So do strong sadhana. Find out what real life is. It's only a few years, even if you live to the maximum of 100 years. That's not very long, I can guarantee you that. Just 5 minutes ago, I was a spring chicken, and now someone told me you're not a spring chicken anymore. So it goes by within the blink of an eye. And if you just sacrifice this one life, just one little life, it's only 100 years, for sacrifice to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you get the greatest return. Never take birth again, go back to the spiritual world and serve Krishna in eternal bliss. So that's okay. Sadhana. The second law of book distribution is you must get books. Everyone say it.
You must get books.
That is correct. And the third law of book distribution is?
The more you show, the more you sell.
One more time.
The more you show, the more you sell.
And the fourth law of book distribution is?
You must organize.
You must organize. Okay, the first law, strict, serious, and sincere sadhana. It means monitor yourself. Get in association with people who are practicing good sadhana. And if you do that, if you dig into your sadhana, if you try to get the most out of it you can, then you'll get a taste. And when you get a taste, then you have something. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his song, Doyal Nitai Chaitanya Bole Nacharayan Marman, he says, if you don't get a taste for chanting, then your life is miche, it's useless. So that's not very good. The main purpose of human life is to get a taste for chanting. So work at it. Do your sadhana strictly, seriously, and sincerely, and you get a taste. And when you have a taste, you have something to distribute. It's called overflow. It's what is coming out of you and your countenance. When you approach people, that's what people want. They see it in you, because when you chant 16 rounds with attention and you read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll be emanating a kind of spiritual potency that is palpable to people that you meet. And that's what they'll become interested in. And the whole world will become interested in you. Srila Prabhupada noted this when he first went to India with his Western disciples to Surat, and there people were making divots in the road. They were grabbing the dust wherever these Western devotees were dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. Same in Bengal. And Prabhupada commented later, he said, because you're following this exalted process, you're chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles, you become worshipable all over the world. It's not a light thing, it's a huge thing. And it's the only thing worth pursuing, frankly. I don't have much time, so I'm trying to be frank. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita as it is, this is our primary book. Worship this book. Read this book. Memorize this book. You can memorize 700 verses. It's not such a difficult thing. You can enter within the Bhagavad Gita just by chanting 1 chapter a day. You'll memorize the whole book within no time. Right, Prabhu? Yeah, he will. I can see. He could do it. And let's look in the next slide. Prabhupada told many times, chant 1 chapter a day, another one. Many quotes, keep going. So you can join CHAD, that's our underground organization, chapter a day. Devotees secretly read 1 chapter a day. We have cards, you can be a card-carrying member. We have a website called readchad.com, thousands of members. We all chant 1 chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day. Do I chant 1 chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day? He sees me. When we're driving from place to place, we just pull out the book, we read the chapter, and you've done your CHAD. Immense power in these kinds of practices. Add it to your life and watch your life explode into change, spiritual advancement. Next. Here's our app. This is called Be a Sage page by page. You can measure how many pages you need to read every day to finish any of Prabhupada's books within a given amount of time. For instance, if you want to finish the whole Bhagavatam in 5 years, you can find out on this handy little app, which is available, by the way, for iOS or for, what's that other one called?
Android.
Yeah, Android. Either one, you can find out how many pages to read every day to finish the book Bhagavatam. All 12 cantos in 5 years. The magic number is 8. 8 pages. Now, what if you were to dedicate yourself to reading 8 pages of Bhagavatam a day? What do you think would happen? Mataji? What is your name? Your name? Meena? What would happen if you dedicated yourself to reading 8 pages a day for 5 years? you'd know more about the Srimad Bhagavatam. And what else would happen? Somebody make some suggestions. Specific things that are interesting that would happen in your life.
Finish reading the Bhagavatam.
You'd finish reading the Bhagavatam. That one's a given. That's mathematically proven here. What else?
Consciousness will change.
Yeah, that's very general. We want specific, like things, what happens inside your house, your head, in your family. I mean, yes?
I was just thinking of a quote which Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the preface that you become a self-realized person.
Become a self-realized person. Now, that's not bad. What other thing will happen? Yes? You'll understand more about the goal of life? Still very general?
Elevate your consciousness.
No, what about your kids? You know, they'll see you reading 8 pages a day, and then they'll want to listen in. They'll run faster, jump higher, be smarter. I mean, everything around you, when you read the Bhagavatam out loud, your cat, you know, your cat will become self-realized. You can bring him on Sankirtans. That's my cat. He's self-realized. Ask him anything. I mean, everything's transformed by Bhagavatam reading. Just read 8 pages a day out loud and watch the whole environment change. That's interesting. Everything else is boring. You know, status quo in this world is absolutely sickening boring. Let's change it. Read Bhagavatam out loud, at least 8 pages a day. Or if you want to be more bold than that, why not challenge the system? Rage against the machine. 41 pages a day. Break something. That's one full Bhagavatam reading within 1 year, all 12 cantos. If you do that, you'll be known to yourself as a person with spiritual integrity. You'll be so filled up with spiritual knowledge that people will look at you and then they'll do a double take. Like what happened to him. No, that's what happens. The Bhagavatam, this is Krishna. This is the incarnation of Krishna. Now, how do you read all 12 cantos? You have to break it down into small bite-sized pieces. Because if you just look at it, you'll get intimidated. But if you use this little wheel, and it'll tell you how many pages today, that's strong sadhana. And we just heard about it from the Goswamis, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Nantibi Kalavasani Krito. They counted everything meticulously, how much they were doing every day. Because you can have a blockbuster life if you just do consistent sadhana every day. You can just really rise above the modes of material nature and actually be happy and productive in life. It all comes from consistency in your practice. Strict, serious, sincere sadhana. This is the secret to life. There is no other. Happiness in life. Next. Okay. Law number 2, you must get books. Everyone say get books.
Get books.
Yes. Now we've done scientific studies. We went to the major universities, including Ivy League schools. We did double-blind studies, and we found conclusively that you can't distribute books that you don't have. There's no reason on earth why not to have these transcendental literatures, because these are available. And this is actually a miracle that they're available. We were at Kartik Chandra's house, Prabhu's house yesterday, and he was showing us original manuscripts of handwritten Srimad Bhagavatams, Bhagavad Gitas, and so forth, handwritten. And at the end, the person who had written that, had written by hand, the scribes, they told how onerous of a task it was. Is everyone okay? How onerous of a task it was to copy that whole thing. We don't have to do that. These books roll off the presses. Get these, put them in your home, put them in your car, put them in your bag. Keep it in your hand when you walk around. These are valuable. And if you live in a home, you can put boxes of them in front of the refrigerator and tell everyone we're not eating until these are all gone. There's lots of stuff you can do when you get books. And we have books in many different languages. We have books in Vietnamese, Japanese, Farsi, Arabic, Korean. Yesterday we met people from, where were they? Romania.
Romania.
Salt of the earth. You should find out where all the Romanians live. They're the nicest people I ever met. And if you have Romanian books, you can just go on a binge for the next 3 years and distribute thousands of Romanian books, and you'll be blissfully happy distributing Romanian books. Look at all these books we have. You can innovate. You can distribute in many different languages using these lines that we have set up for you. Here's me at a Vietnamese Starbucks, sitting down with my pals. They all took a book. Chang Man Joy. I just say a few words in Vietnamese. I give them Vietnamese books. We're friends for life. Here's a Muslim mullah from Afghanistan who I said, Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, marhaba, kifelak, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. And he asked me if I pray. I said I pray 16 times a day. He gave me a big hug. And he took that Farsi book. That Farsi book is somewhere now, burning a hole in someone's shelf in the middle of Afghanistan. One book can actually transform a whole country. And it's done before, like in Russia, when devotees were copying books by hand. These are powerful. These are mantras. These are from the spiritual world. We have extra points for Bhagavatams. You sell one set of Bhagavatams now, you get double the points forever. We just changed that at our last BBT meeting. And the next law is the more you show, the more you sell. Please say that.
The more you show, the more you sell.
Here we experimented. We put up a book table with rack. You see how the rack is so that you can actually see the books from across the street? And what do you think happened when we put this up? Rishi, what do you think happened?
More people saw it, so more people came to study.
Yeah, people came over. The more you show, because the more you show, the more you sell, right? So if we had left these books in a dark corner of the cellar or the basement, whatever you call it here, in the book, sealed with the tape still on the box, completely dark, how many books would we have distributed that day? Approximately. Approximately 0. But when you put a table out, you've got potential. It's the funniest thing. Jiva, little Jiva, is walking around the universe just looking at stuff. That's all people do. They're loitering here in the material world. They're walking around, they're thinking, show me something interesting. So people put up signs everywhere. We were just driving out of Calcutta. There was a huge windstorm that came through. It blew every one of the hoardings off its bearings. And it was an eerie feeling because all the hoardings were gone, the billboards. And then I was realizing how pervasive they are, because everyone's trying to show something. He's like, Coca-Cola, take a look at this. Pour out a bottle of happiness. That's their campaign, bottle of happiness. And then little Jiva sees it, and he said, yeah, let me get that. I'll pick up a case. And he comes home, he pops the little top off, he hears a psh, and then he's in the body, his cells are going, don't put that in here, little Jiva. And Jiva's going, no, I saw it on the billboard. I'm going to drink it. Because that's what Jivas do. They're open to suggestion, and if you put it out there and you say, hey, psh, Jiva, look at this, it's Krishna, they get mesmerized all of a sudden. They'll see the spiritual world and they'll take it. And that's the right decision. All these other things are within the closed system of the material world, and they never get anywhere. It's the same stuff recycled over and over again. It doesn't mean anything. But this means something when you show transcendental literature, and there's millions of ways to show it. Door to door, look at that. How fun is that? You knock on the door. Last night we knock on doors, and as soon as you knock, then you go, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Because we have no idea what's going to happen. And that's fun. Predictable's not fun, but this is fun. And then, the police get them. This Machi distributes thousands of books a year. She has a little corner where she just shows the books and people come over. There's events that you can go to. That's our pumpkin festival. We distribute thousands of books there, and we finally figured out why. See the color of the Gita and the pumpkin? Diwali events. And here's our smart box for those who like to sell books while they sleep. This might be for you. You go around, you put them around town. People take the books out, they put the cash in. All you have to do is get one of those armored trucks to drive around and pick up all the cash and drop off the books. And that's book distribution, because the more you show,
The more you sell.
that is correct. Smart tables, you can put them anywhere. Kids Sankirtan. Last night we went out with about 15 kids. Kids rock. I saw at the doors that people see the kids, their hearts melt. We were giving them candy. They gave us the first door we went to, a Muslim family, happy to take that Prabhupada book. And the woman of the house, she came out and she was like, oh, she saw the kids. She gave them a huge box of candy. They were trying to give her candy back. It was a love fest. Everybody can go out and do book distribution. At ISV, they start when they're 0 years old. And Prabhupada said everybody should have a set of books, sell in bunches like bananas. Tom Hopkins, the greatest salesman in the world, wrote in his book, always sell in bunches like bananas. That's why we tie books together now. Makes it easier. And these are already tied together. Full sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. That one we put in somebody's house. They claimed they didn't have space, but we showed them one shelf that was full of junk. It had games, old hairbrushes, bottles of stuff they had no idea what was in. And we said, do you need all this junk? And they said, well, maybe not. So we cleared it off. We washed the shelf. We put the Bhagavatam. Now they have a whole different life. Gomatsya, preserving Vedic scriptures. When the Mohammedans attacked India, they took millions of original scriptures that were written in gold and they burned them. And then they take the gold from the writing and they take it away. Scriptures, they need to be preserved all over the world. And now's a good time to make these books available, put them in people's homes. Make sure that respectable people have them so they're spread all over the world. It's the most important service that you can do, is spread Srimad Bhagavatam. Last year, Bhadra Purnima, we distributed almost 10,000 books. Here's a Muslim from Morocco, just bought a Chaitanya Charitamrita. Here's all the books together on one shelf. The more you show, the more you sell. Do people buy it? The answer is yes. My question is why? Because
You're showing them.
the more you show, the more you sell.
The more you show, the more you sell.
Correct. Okay. Moto Gita, this is an outdated number. We're up to 750,000 Bhagavad Gitas placed. And the fourth law of book distribution is?
You must.
Now, if you want to do it as a hobby and do a few books here and there, just as a curiosity, just go about your business. Do whatever you feel like. One devotee goes out this door, the other one goes out that door. Nobody knows where the book room key is. Nobody has a coordinated effort collecting the Lakshmi. All those things, fine, that's okay. It's better than nothing. But if you want to build an empire of book distribution, organize. All it means is be aware of what you're doing, what your mission is. Write down your goals and say, we would like to make at least 3 improvements this month. And if you do that, starting with 1 or 2 people, you'll be able to build an empire that will take over the world with hearing and chanting and the book distribution. We have proof. Our little temple in ISKCON Silicon Valley started with 3 people. Now we have hundreds that go on book distribution. Last 2 years, we gave $500,000 to the VBT, both years. It was number 3 in the world from a tiny little temple. And the only reason I bring it up is because it's an experimental ground. It's a proving ground where we show that householders, people are already busy, they've got kids. If they just come together in an organized way, they can rock the world. And that's the sleeping giant in ISKCON, is everyone who's doing all their life, live your life, but come together in an organized way and spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So, the 4 laws of book distribution are, number 1.
Your sadhana must be strong.
Number 2.
Your books.
Number 3.
The more you show, the more you sell.
Number 4.
You must organize.
Number 4.
You must organize.
Number 3. Number 2. Number 1.
Your sadhana must be
Lord
strong.
Chaitanya had 2 parts to his Sankirtan movement. The first one was?
Chant Hare Krishna.
Second is?
Teach others.
See, it's easy. It's really easy. There's 4 laws of book distribution, only 2 parts to the movement. It's easy to spread. Anybody can do this. Now, here's a few points about organization. Goals are potent. If you set some goals for yourself, quantitative, qualitative, you'll be able to reach great heights. And I hope you're absorbing all this. I'm zipping through it. You getting it all? Oh, here's something important. You see that? Goal number 1, touch the pavement. So everyone say touch the pavement. That's always our first goal. When I introduce the monthly Sankirtan festival, or time during which everyone goes out together in the whole community just for a couple hours, and it's a fun outing. You have prasadam at the end, you ride on a big bus, all kinds of stuff. When we go out, the first thing is just touch the pavement together. Yes?
That's the theme for Birmingham, the devotees,
That's their theme here? Touch the pavement. Confirm?
Yeah.
That's it? And then once you touch the pavement, you see how they're doing there? You're done for the day. You don't have to do anything else. You have to prove yourself. You don't have to perform. You're done. You've achieved the goal. And anything after you do that is totally extra. You can just hang around and do whatever you feel like doing. Now, a few points about book distribution, but before I do, am I okay?
I was just going to go to the slide number 179. Should I?
Okay. I have a sinking feeling that I've run out of time, even though I'm rushing through this. Have I? Close to it. I don't know how I do that. I don't know.
No, okay.
I just... Is everyone okay? Okay. First I want to talk about a few principles. Because principles you can transport anywhere. And this is a very important principle. One is pick the ripe fruits. When you go picking fruits from a tree, which ones do you look for? Thank you. And the unripe fruits, what do? You grab them, you break the branch, you drag it down the street. Similarly, when we meet somebody who's not interested, we chase them down the street. We follow them to their car. We insist over and over again, you have to take this. Correct?
No.
Correct?
No.
Thank you. Let them go. We're just selecting the right fruits. Anybody who doesn't give you a cheerful response, isn't interested in what you're having to offer, you have the right to let them go. How does that make you feel? Very good. See, I just saved you a lot of time and effort, and now you can be always happy when you go on book distribution, because all you have to do is go around and look for ripe fruits. And when you find them, you'll be inspired, they'll be charmed, and the whole world will be beautiful. Okay?
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, there's a ripe fruit. You see what he looks like? You see? Now here's an unripe fruit. Ripe. Say ripe.
Right. Unright.
Follow it.
Unright.
Come on.
Right. Unright. Right. Unright. Right. Unright.
So you got to be fast. When you see somebody who's unripe, Court Explorer means take some time to try things 20% of the time that you've never done before. And the other 80% of the time, do what you know and stay in your comfort zone as far as distributing, and you'll continue to expand. Thanks to Charles Schwab for this one. Our prime directive is leave everyone with a good impression. What's our prime directive?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
Yeah, that's easy. Just be nice to people. Be extra nice to people. Use all your customer service skills. The customer's always right. Don't worry about letting a few books go if they insist they want to keep it for less money. It's no big deal. We've got more money than anybody in the whole world. You know, it's not an issue for us. The main issue is leaving everyone with a good impression. What's our prime directive?
Leave everyone with a good impression.
That's fun, to leave everyone with a good impression. It'll leave the right atmosphere. You don't have to worry too much about anything. Be ambassadors of goodwill and be in the service business. Now, a couple principles about book distribution. I hope you got them all there. Sell the book on its own merit. Here's a couple principles. Don't look there, just look here. One is honor objections. Everyone say honor objections.
Honor objections.
Now that sounds weird because it seems like as a mighty preacher you go out and do combat with everybody, and whatever they say that is wrong, you'll point it out immediately and accost them and make sure that they're philosophically defeated and left by the side of the road. But that's not our objective. If somebody offers an objection to what we're doing, it's because they really don't have the proper frame of reference. What do they know? Be kind to them, but also be expedient, because you're not going to sell many books if you argue with everybody. So the way to conduct yourself when you go out is to honor their objections. For instance, yesterday someone told us that we handed him a book and he said, I'm a Muslim. So we honored that objection and we took the book back because he handed it back, so we didn't resist. And then we handed him another book. And then we presented it more in terms of what he could appreciate. And that is that the world is meant for developing love for Allah. And he was perfectly happy to take the next book. Somebody says, I don't have any time. Don't tell them, no, you do have time. You have all the time in the world, because whatever you resist will persist. But honor, I don't have time. Okay, I'm very sorry, thanks. You can always ask him a question, and that's the next point. That whoever's asking questions is leading the conversation. Who's leading the conversation?
Whoever is asking the question.
Yeah, you don't have to tell, but become a master asker. Ask a lot of questions to people, and I'll tell you some key questions that you can use that will always work in all times, in all places, in all circumstances, and I guarantee it. Every book that it doesn't work for you, I'll personally pay for that book. Keep a record. Okay, here's a few ideas about how to sell a Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to go through it quickly because we don't have a lot of time. The first, read these together, please. Number one.
Qualify, trust the hand, give an usher presentation, show and tell, compliment, humor, engage.
So that's a radar gun. If you're going too fast, the police know because they shoot it at your car and it has a reading, correct? Prabhu, yes. So then you also hold up your hand. Here's your radar. Point it at somebody besides me and say, hi. Hi. Now you just shot a little beam, and the person you shot with it's going to have a reaction because they're a conscious living being and they feel it. So when you go out and you say hi, like one guy was walking by here, I was just hitting people as I was walking up here. I said hi, and he's like, I gotta go. So that I had a reading. You know, I said, this guy's not going to stop. I don't have to chase him because I'm only looking for ripe fruits, right? And fine, I'm happy, he's happy, the whole world goes on as it was before. But if somebody reacts, you go hi, and they go, hey! You know, like, you got yourself a ripe fruit. Go over and pick the fruit. So then, the next thing, ask them a question. I mean, what I do is I say, I'm from California, where are you from? And they say, where are you from? Where? Coventry. I love Coventry, fantastic. I've read about Coventry. I love Coventry. The people in Coventry are beautiful, smart. And this is from America to Coventry. And so I find out where they're from, and wherever they're from qualifies them to take a look at what I have. And when I hand it to them, I trust the hand. See the lady's hand? Can you see this?
Yes.
Now can you see her face? Her mind's going like, don't do it. And the hand's going, no, I'll do it. So put the book in their hand. And while you do, tell them what it's about. Books on yoga and meditation.
Books on yoga and meditation.
That show you how to get free from stress.
That show you how to get free from stress.
And then ask a question, because whoever's asking the questions is?
Leading the conversation.
That is correct. You've heard of stress, right?
Yes.
Right? And then I say, you don't look stressed. In fact, you look spiritual. Now turn to somebody next to you and say, you look spiritual. How does that make you feel? Spiritual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing when you meet people on the street, you go, you look spiritual. They go like, hey, yeah, I forgot. I am a spirit soul. I'm from the spiritual world. Thanks for reminding me. And here's the question of the year, of the century. You ask this question to anybody, and you'll see the magic in it. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm not convinced at all.
Yeah.
I'm about to give you the key to distributing books anywhere, at any time to anybody. You don't even need any of the other stuff I told you, just this one question. And I'm not perceiving much enthusiasm to receive it. Are you ready?
Yes!
Oh, all right. Here it is. What's your secret? Turn to somebody next to you and ask them, what's your secret? Good, Rishi. He did it so sincerely. And when you ask somebody your secret, what their secret is, it changes your relationship. Because the thing is, here's the reason, and this might be helpful, that people don't buy a book from you. The reason is they perceive that you're trying to change their life and that you're condescending. What you're basically saying by approaching them is that your life is messed up and I'm going to help you out. And they don't like that. Nobody likes it. You know, even husband, wife, kids don't like it. Hey, get ready for school. And they're like, don't tell me what to do. That's the living entity in the material world. When you ask somebody, what's your secret, it changes the relationship. You put them on the Vaisesika and you say, please, I'm worshiping you, you tell me. You instruct me. Tell me all about what your secret is. It's a very, very powerful mantra. You keep this ready to go at any time. If you don't know anything else to say, just ask them this question and you'll see miracles happen. So they tell you what the secret is, and then you take the book back and then show it to them. And how fast? Really quick. Because everyone's thinking, I got to go. Is this a Bhagavatam class or is this going to go on forever? On the Bhagavad Gita, we show them the back. Gandhi read this, the Beatles read it, Tupac Shakur read it. On the middle, you can show them the Sanskrit and say this is an ancient language. It's been translated over 400 times, and out of all the translations, this has become most noticed in the universities. And then we show them this picture of changing bodies. We start here, we end up here, we're just passing through. This one shows a self-realized person who treats everyone with respect, because he or she sees the spirit in everyone's heart. And then we ask, you've heard of karma, right? Sachi, you've heard of karma? What does it mean to you?
It goes around and comes around.
Whoa, I really like the way you put things. If more people in the world thought like you, it would be a better world to live in. Okay, now you ask me what karma means to me.
You've heard of karma, right?
Yeah, I've heard of karma.
What does it mean to you?
You know, there's rabbits and butterflies and rainbows and all kinds of weird stuff.
Whoa!
Whoa, say whoa.
Whoa!
I really like the way you put things.
I really like the way you put things.
If more people in the world thought like you,
If more people in the world thought like you,
it'd be a great world to better world to live in.
it would be a better world to live in.
Now, we ask him, what do you do professionally?
What do you do professionally?
Nitai Prabhu, what do you do professionally?
Relocation consultant.
This guy used to be a relocation consultant. So whatever it is, that's what this guy used to be. And when they say ha ha ha, and 50% of the time you say ha ha ha, the other 50% of the time they say really? And then we say not really, and then they say ha ha ha. Then we hand the book back, and here's where the rubber meets the road, because a lot of devotees say, well, what about this donation thing? Isn't this disturbing people and so forth? Fact is, it's giving people an opportunity to do some service and reciprocate. And we don't want to deprive them of the opportunity. And so, if you want an easy way to ask for a donation, just tell the truth. Hand the book back and say this. We don't sell it like in a bookstore.
We don't sell it like in a bookstore.
We just ask for a donation.
We just ask for donation.
We don't need the money.
We don't need the money.
The only reason we ask
The only reason we ask
is that it's an ancient tradition.
it's an ancient tradition.
When you give something in return for spiritual knowledge,
When you give something in return for spiritual
it connects you to the previous teachers
it connects you to the previous teachers
who have passed it down over many generations
who passed it down over many generations.
and allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge.
And allows you to enter deeply.
And now we'll take a couple of reflections. Ask a question or give a reflection. Someone asked a question. What happens when... Yes.
Just want to say,
Yes, Vidya Manjari.
I like when you're saying Mahadana, we have to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees.
Yes.
And Mahaprabhu was opening the storehouse, and he was intoxicated, so in that way we should be causing a riot and distribute books in any
Yes.
move.
Mahat Kritena, following the footsteps and creating a revolution in the world. Could you put it back on the Ever Well-Wisher? And I'll just briefly cover a few things to say about this book, because this is the one we're featuring this month. You know, I've sold several in the last couple of days just walking around. I came out of the acupuncturist yesterday and I just saw some guy, a Sikh, walking down the road, and I said, Sat Sri Akal, and I showed him the book. And I didn't say much about the book at all. It's shrink wrap, so I didn't even show them the pictures inside, but all I've been saying to people is a few lines that I've presented here. And one of them is that this is about the teacher who is the Beatles guru. People hear that here in UK and they go, oh, okay, nice. And the other thing I do, I tell them when I meet them, which is really true, I said, you look spiritual, what's your secret? And then I tell them that we don't sell the book like in a bookstore. We just ask for a donation. We don't need the money. But it's an ancient tradition. When you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have passed it down over many generations and allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. And if you don't remember that, we have a card somewhere. Sachi's right on it. Good, Sachi, you're hired. These cards have an at a glance. It tells everything about how to sell a Bhagavad Gita and also tips on door to door. But it also has this way in which you can very straightforwardly ask for a donation. It makes a lot of sense to people when you tell them it's not for us. The donation's for you. It's part of the way of appreciating and letting the book enter into your life. You've got nothing to lose. You present that and you'll see that people appreciate that point of view, that they're not buying something. They're not giving for some cause, but they're giving so that they can do some penance in order to read the book. That's a little revolutionary, isn't it? I can't say yes because it's my own thing, so I don't want to push it too much. But it is. It changes the perspective a lot. So what is the next order of business, and how much time do we have left? You want me to present more of this?
We can just go through these 2 slides.
Okay. These I gleaned from various book distributors. I have not sold this book very much over the years, or practically, I think maybe in the last 2 days. It's the first time that I've actually presented this book. So I called several seasoned book distributors and I said, what do you say when you're selling your Ever Well Wisher? And here are a few of the key lines that they gave me, and you can take these too and prosper. So the first one is, you've heard of Autobiography of a Yogi. This is the biography of a monk. You've heard of Meditation and Yoga. This one's about someone who achieved perfection by doing it. This one's about the precepts. This one's about the example. And that's when you have 2 books at the same time. Precepts and examples. Next one. Muhammad Ali said he, pointing to the picture of Prabhupada, was the greatest man who ever lived. And that's a fact. He used to buy books at the airport. Even I sold a book to Muhammad Ali once in Chicago airport, but it was quite a common thing that devotees always approach him, and he usually gave at least $100 back then because he liked us. He also had a relationship with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj for many years, and he appreciated Prabhupada very much, so you can invoke his name. This is a biography of George Harrison's guru, teacher. That works very well here in the UK because everyone remembers George Harrison, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is the teacher of the Beatles, who's the inspiration behind many of the Beatles songs. Those are easy to remember. You can paraphrase them, but they'll work. Is there anything else?
That's it.
There you have it. It's very simple and straightforward. And the main thing is to appreciate the person that you're talking to, honor whatever objections they have, appreciate that they look spiritual, ask them what their secret is, and then tell them that we don't sell it, we just ask for a donation. And oftentimes when I'm presenting the book and asking for a donation, I say, we refuse to sell these because they're too valuable. We only ask for a donation. And we tell people sometimes we're monks, not skunks, not punks, but monks. And they appreciate that too. Any questions? Prabhu.
As you said about your experience with Muslims,
Yes?
I think one of them you said was that you gave some other book.
Yes?
You went around it. But what if they are, I mean, of course, if they're not ripe fruits, that's fine. Probably most of them might be unripe. But are there any other little tricks sleeve that you could use? Say this or second book, not interested in that. Allah is the great, because there's no dearth of.
Well, if somebody's intractable, then that's a sign that it's not happening.
Sure.
And feel free to reel it in early. And in other words, stop the presentation. Look for the ripe fruits, especially when you're just beginning. Give yourself permission if somebody is showing some resistance, if you don't know how to deal with it, so let them go. And you'll see that people who are ripe come along, and you'll become better equipped as you practice to talk to people who might have a few little hurdles here and there, but you can learn that as you go and start with the riper fruits. Other questions?
Sometimes people ask, what religion are we?
Sometimes people ask us, what religion are we? And it depends on the mood in which they're asking it. If they're asking it in the mood that I don't like organized religion, because a lot of young people say that, so then I say this completely rejects all religious processes that are materially motivated and propounds the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Srila Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, he becomes attached to the Supreme Lord. This first line of the second verse of the Bhagavatam, it completely rejects all religious activities that are materially motivated. That is a flat-out winner. So if anybody asks you, is this religion? So we completely reject all religious activities that are materially motivated. And that kind of answers in a way that they can digest, because that's kind of what they're looking for.
Somebody asked when I was distributing books at Christmas time, we knocked in a Jewish family, and they're very rich.
Yes?
And this man said, what religion? I said, I'm not Hindu, I'm not Muslim, I'm not Christian. And then as soon as I say that, the person said, oh my God, this is what I wanted to hear. And he was overwhelmed, and and then he took the book, and then we went to the next row, and the man coming with the £10, and he said, this is for you. And he was so overwhelmed, he just liked what I said.
He appreciated that it was non-sectarian.
Yeah, non-sectarian.
Yeah, people are allergic these days to sectarianism, and we come out on top on that because really that's our presentation. We're talking about a gold standard, and that is no matter what tradition you come from, if you're approaching God in an unmotivated way and it's uninterrupted, then it's a bona fide and very potent system. Okay, so I think we're out of time, and that brings us to Nitai Kripa Prabhu's announcements. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So please give a big thank you to His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.